people. We are excited for another live interview. We're going to let some more people join in here, and then we are going to get started. We have Dave Seymour from City Light Homes and Flipping Boston, show that used to be on A&E. Hasn't been on for a few years, but definitely an awesome watch if you are looking to kill some time and get some real estate knowledge during this quarantine. So really excited to have him on today. We're going to talk about how he got started, kind of run through his journey, how the TV show got picked up, and then what he's up to today. So throughout the whole interview, if you guys could send over all your questions in the comments, I will scroll back through and I'll try to get to as many of them as I can. There he is.
Hey, brother. Oh, I'm on the screen over there, and now I'm on the phone over here. I'm so confused. Look, I'm old school, man. I use a telephone and shake people's hands, but I can't do that anymore. So I'll get off of the computer and we'll deal with. Oh man, look at how you doing?
The man, the myth, the legend, Dave Seymour, Flipping Boston, City Light Homes. Been circling, been tagging you in some Instagram posts. Been watching some of the old episodes. I'd watched the show years and years ago, and while I've been home, I decided to dig back in and watch all the episodes. So been awesome catching back up, and I was like, I need to talk to this dude. I need to see what he's up to, and excited to have you on. So tell us about yourself. How did it all get started? Where did the career begin?
Yeah, you got to remember, first of all, Ricky, don't believe everything you see on TV. I'm actually a nice guy. That's always important. Hold on a minute. Let me turn a light on. It looks kind of dark in here. See, that is the Boston in me. Dark. It's dark in here. Yeah, how did it all start? Look, man, it's a long story short, and I'll try and keep it as short as I can. I wasn't always in the real estate game. I was a firefighter and a paramedic. Actually, I worked in the city of Lynn, Mass. And if you're from Massachusetts, then you know Lynn, Mass. Again, man, long story short, I was a little bit of a financial donkey. I was really good at spending. I wasn't financially literate, and I found myself in a pretty crappy position. It was like 2007, I think, and then 2000, late 7, early 8 hit, and we all know what happened then. And I was actually losing my house. I had about I was working about 120 hours between 3 jobs, and my house was in pre-foreclosure, and I'm carrying about 70 grand in unsecured credit card debt. So, if you look up financial illiterate in the dictionary, I think that's probably the formula. And I don't mean that from a moral standpoint, Rick. I mean, it was simply, I didn't know what I didn't know. I then got to one of those points of decision, if you will, where I needed to do a little bit of something different. And right or wrong, any way you look at it, I heard an infomercial come over on a radio, free seminar coming to your neck of the woods. Mm-hmm. Next thing you know, I'm signing up. My wife, Mary Beth, actually put 27 grand on her credit cards, which we couldn't afford at the time, for real estate education and training. And that's kind of where the journey began. I have a personality trait, right, wrong, or indifferent, that once I make a decision, get the F out of the way, because I'm coming through whether you like it or not. So, yeah. For me, once I got that investment in myself, my family, I'm on, man. It's on like Donkey Kong, and I'm going for it no matter what. Fast forward, 2000. It's funny, I was listening to you right at the end there before I jumped in. Going through a recession. I started in a recession, like I said, right. 2008. Yeah. I think you're about the same timeline, right? About 10 years, 11 years, something like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, I didn't know anything other than short sales and pre-foreclosure investing, low modification. But I stayed in the education space, and, I did well early in my career. I remember the first deal I did was a wholesale transaction. I got a check for $5,000. Mm-hmm. I did. I that was a lot of money to me, man. I stepped out of the attorney's office, and I'm looking up and down the street waiting for 5-0 to pull up, because it felt, you know what I mean?
So for anybody who doesn't understand what a wholesale is, you want to just give the people a rundown of what a wholesale is? Yeah,
a lot of newer investors start with wholesaling. It's the ability to control a piece of real estate with a purchase and sales agreement. You've done your due diligence, you've done your analysis, you've done your marketing, you've run all your numbers, purchase price, after repair, acquisitions, holding costs, et cetera, and then you negotiate enough of a good deal whereby there is enough meat on the bone to sell the contract to another investor for a smaller piece of the potential profit. It's a great strategy. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there who don't know what they're doing. Chicago, for example, a lot of investors were out there just throwing stupid numbers around and hurting sellers. So you have to actually be licensed now in Chicago to be a wholesaler. But it was my first deal, man. And it was like, oh my God. And I never looked back after that. You know, I probably put in about 45 minutes of physical time to that transaction. I made $5,000 and I'm like, holy moly, my hourly rate just went up a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, you don't forget that. You don't forget what that felt like. And it was a catalyst to keep me moving forward. I stayed in the education space. And it was while I was in the education space that one of those social media guys, internet marketer guys, you know, those freaky people, sent me a link to a company in New York that was beginning to bring back the flipping genre. You know, if you'd have gone to HGTV or even CNBC or any of those networks in 2008, there weren't any flipping shows on there. Nobody gave a shit. It's like everyone's scrabbling to make a living. And, you know, 2008, 9, I got a link. I'd learned enough by then to remember how vital it is to separate yourself from the noise. I'm a pretty brash dude. I'm not very delicate. We'll leave it at that. And this application came down, and it was an online application, and I loaded it with profanity, man. I sent this thing into New York to a production company. You know, name of your business, go F yourself, LLC. You know, I put all kinds of crap in there that my grandmother would flip over in her grave if she read it. You know, I think the catchphrase at the end of it was, I'm a firefighter. I do real estate the same way I do firefighting. When everybody else goes running out, I go running in. Don't waste my effing time. Get on a plane, train, or automobile. Come up to Boston. I'll show you how the British Bulldog gets it done.
Nice.
You know, stupid. It was
got
noise,
it done.
though. It was noise. The phone rang. You know, it was an area code from New York. I picked up the phone and I straight up, I said, I thought I told you not to call me, you asshole. And I hung up the phone. And I'm like, oh, call me back. And they did. And the kid was laughing. He said, you're either a genius or a lunatic. I said, is there a difference? And I didn't have a real solid business relationship at that time with Peter, the guy who was on the show with me.
Yeah.
So I gave Peter a buzz and I said, hey, look, they're coming up. They're going to do a little demo reel at one of the houses. I've done some construction for Pete. He was more, you know, prolific in his real estate investing at that time. Kind of like you, he was a condo guy. He did condos all up and down the beach up here in Lynn. Yeah. Anyway, he comes out. You know, we start breaking balls. We have some fun with the guys. And, you know, the next thing you know, they say, yeah, we want 4 episodes. I figured, all right, this is going to be a good story to tell the kids. Yeah. And, you know, we got the highest rated viewing on A&E, which is what we were on, Arts Entertainment. Highest viewed show on a Saturday morning. I don't know, it was a couple of million or something. Yeah. And then they asked for more episodes, and then it was like, holy shit, all right, I guess we're in the TV business for a while. And that's how it started. So, you know, it's been a hell of a journey, that's for sure. I'm not in business with Peter anymore. You know, our partnership ended a few years back, but it was a good run, you know, good friends. But, you know, a lot of blessings, that's for sure, brother. A lot of crazy ride. Who would have thought? You know what I mean?
So were you guys doing deals together just on the show, or were you guys working together on other deals as well? So like was City Light Homes doing a ton of different projects? How is that set up?
Yeah, that's interesting. Like if you look it up and you've mentioned City Light Homes was never a real business. It was a storefront, right? Yeah. It was a storefront. You know, it was established. You know, it had an LLC and a TIN. Yeah. But you know, when you get a TV show like that, you appreciate this. It's all about marketing.
Yeah.
Whether you're Tarek and Christina, or whether you're the brothers Deli or whatever those guys are, or the stuff that's in Florida. It's marketing. It's how do you give somewhere for somebody to go? So that's how City Light Homes was created. We did 29 episodes. Out of that 29 original properties, were probably around 20 of them. And then some of them were stuff that Pete already had. But I had, I met Peter when I came out of education. They told me to go find other real estate investors in the marketplace. I actually found him on Craigslist. That's how we met, straight up. Yeah, he was looking for investors with money. I was broke as a joke and didn't have any, but I wasn't gonna, you know what I mean? I wasn't gonna wait for it. And that's kind of how we started. And it's like I said, it was a good ride. But I had done some construction work for him as a firefighter. I did construction on the outside, but that's kind of how it started. And then, he said to me one day, if you want to be an investor, go find some money. So I went and borrowed 35 grand from a lieutenant at the firehouse, put it on a construction job, paid him back his 35 grand plus 5 grand. And I got a feel for it, and I kept it. Here's the deal, dude. You got a choice, right? You can either always be moving forward, or you parallel, which isn't, there's no progression in that, or some people just run away from it. So, I've always tried to be cognizant of moving forward, no matter what it is that I'm doing. So, 29 episodes. You can see them now on Amazon.
Amazon Prime.
Yeah, you go.
Yeah, you're gonna get some checks in.
I wish. No, there's no residuals on that shit.
What?
Yeah. Do you want to know?
What negotiation was that?
Dude, look, watch this. If I said to the people listening to this call right now, you can do a TV show, right? And you've got to give me your firstborn child. Some people would say, yeah, that's a good deal, right? Like it's funny how people bend over backwards for that TV opportunity. It's that, that 10 minutes of fame or whatever. But I tell you, the first episodes, we got paid $1,500.
Yeah.
And the last episodes, I think it was like 10 grand or something like that.
Yeah.
There was no Kardashian money going this way, baby. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I got the kadunk to carry it off. That's why. But,
so what happened? What happened to season 4?
So that's a great question, brother. So we did the 29 episodes. We never lost ratings. It always did well.
Yeah.
But if it's a business, right? That TV world is a business, and they started looking at, I'm just going to go at it. There was no female presence in our show. It was a couple of dudes, right? And then if you look at some of the other shows, they were more attractive women on there, or it was couples and stuff like that. So there was a combination of that, plus A&E Network. It's interesting. If you look at their history, they've reinvented themselves like 3 times in the past 10 years, right?
Yeah.
So that Saturday morning block, it was called the something program, and they gave it a title like the family block or the house block or whatever they called it. They did away with that Saturday morning altogether, and it became something else. From there they went to Donnie Loves Jenny, and they tried that kind of genre. Donnie Wahlberg, local guy here, and his wife. Let's follow them around. Is that a series? Then you got the Wahlburgers. They stayed with the Boston theme for a while. Yeah, and we got to see the Wahlberg boys making burgers, and Mark would pop in every now and again, and it was, oh my God, let's watch that show. And then that died out, and then it's now cop shows, right?
Yeah.
PD Live. And it's funny, I could have been on there as a firefighter and a paramedic instead of being a house guy. So they just said, hey, we're reinventing ourselves. We're not doing this anymore. Appreciate what you did for us, on your way. And then it was funny. There was a transition period. I talked to the guys right after at CNBC. They had The Prophet. That was a good show back then. They met with us, and they said, well, what can you guys do? I said, what about, we'll come from, the profit in real estate, if you will. Right. Let's use that. Like, I'm an expert. My partner's an expert. We can help newer investors. I'm in lending today. Well, I was in lending until about 6 weeks ago, but lending, going around the country, helping investors, maybe working with sports personalities. And it was funny. They said, nah, we don't like those ideas. And then a year later, all those ideas we produced. So I learned some stuff about that. So and then it is what it is.
Yeah.
I still every now and again we'll pop up, me and Pete, and we'll do like Rachel Ray or something like that. Do some silly thing. It's funny. Pete called me about, I don't know, just before the end of the new year. I hadn't spoken to him in a while, and he goes, "Rachel Ray wants us to do a bit on the show." I said, "We're not on air, right?
Yeah.
You and I aren't in business together." I said, "What
it's
are they
been
doing?
Years,
right? What are they digging up ex-TV people?" I said, "Me and Dog the Bounty Hunter are going to do a bit on Rachel Ray." So that's what happened to it. It is what it is. It's all good, but it was a nice run, and I'm very blessed that we had an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I've done a few interviews for TV shows, and they always ask me, they're like, "Oh yeah, so how quick can you turn around a project?"
Oh, that's
everything. I was like 10 to 24 months, and they're like, see ya.
Yeah. If you look at that show that they did in Vegas, right? Now, you're a professional, I'm a professional. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let me get a house, put some trash on the floor, call it a stink house, and then I can also renovate that in 3 weeks, 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was what was good on the production side about the ideas that I was bringing about helping newer investors, because now you've got multiple projects going on, and you just keep a character or a main presence in the show. But look, dude, I don't get up every day praying I was on TV. It ran its course. It wasn't about my pride or my ego or anything like that. It was for shits and giggles, to be honest with you, in the beginning. And then
so let's finish up with flipping. So there's a couple of things on the show. It's gonna be our end of Flipping Boston. How staged were all those things on the show? Like the ghost episode and the angry tenant, the kid from upstairs.
I resent the implications.
Did they? Well,
here's the question.
Here's the question. Obviously, they were staged, but was there something that occurred that then took you down that path? Like, was the tenant upstairs banging his foot?
Yeah. So look, every one of those shows, it's a TV show, right? We were lucky in the sense that we could create a story in an hour, whereas these HGTV shows that they just bang out one after another, you get 20 minutes to do a rehab. So each show would have a meeting around it, like what's going on here, like the ghost episode there. That house was it was freaky. And an older lady had passed in there. There was the rocking chair in the corner.
How about the neighbor next door? You guys were really angry.
Truth.
You were angry.
God's honest.
I could tell.
Donnie, God bless him, had some challenges.
Yeah.
That was one of our earlier episodes. That and the episode where the guys had all their tools stolen.
Yeah.
That place leaked out. Those were our first few episodes. We didn't know whether we were doing like an intervention show or whether we were doing a house flipping show.
That one made me laugh because we get heat from our neighbors, our development sites, and so Jack Wardway, EJO General Contracting, is my GC, and like a lot of times they'll show up and they'll see me pull up, and the neighbors will come to yell. I'll be like, "Hey, gotta get out of here! Talk to Jack." And I just leave.
Yeah, pass that dollar bill. Yeah.
Hey, see ya.
I did a deal recently. I don't know, last month or so, and I took a genuine, it was single family, but it was an absolute eyesore. The earth was almost eating this house. It had been abandoned for a couple of years. And when we get in there, the neighbors are like doing jumping jacks. Yeah. And then right towards the end, I never forget it, this neighbor pulled up, saw me pull up, kind of like you did, right? The neighbor pulls up, and of course he knows everything about everything because he fixes his own plumbing, right? Yeah. And he comes up and he gives me the line. He's like, "Yeah, we got a problem." I go, "Yeah, what's that, buddy?" He goes, "Your fence is 6 inches on my property line, and I need to get that moved." Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, you've been sitting next to an absolute eyesore for.
He watched that episode. That's the thing, Dave. He watched the episode and then he wanted to fuck you. He saw you moving for the. He saw you moving for the other guy, and he came back. He's gonna screw you.
Yeah, but what that moron didn't realize is that I threw a sledgehammer through the fence on the show. So look, I'm a nice guy until I'm not. I'm not about petty. Look, let's take care of each other and do the right thing. But at the end of the day, people are just. What do they call them? The haters, right? Haters going to hate, and all of that shit. It is what it is. So
yeah.
Yeah, it's look, the stories needed to be told.
Yeah,
They were all pretty much based in reality, but you gotta make
of
a show
course.
out of it, brother. You gotta make a
So
show.
talk to me about Lynn, because firefighter in Lynn,
Mm.
you did investment in Lynn. What was that? 10 years ago?
Yeah,
What like were you guys nuts?
yeah,
Uh, and and so now everyone's chatting Lynn.
yeah,
I did an interview with Mike Procopio up
yeah,
there at RJ O'Sullivan's. We did a bunch of marketing for the project that's going
yeah,
on in downtown.
yeah.
Talk to me about Lynn. What you're seeing are you still up in Lynn in that
Yeah, oh
area?
yeah. Look,
And
I'll
then
do.
also other areas that you're starting to see where people, watching from an emerging market standpoint, you guys saw something in Lynn 10 years ago.
Sure.
Where do you see coming out of this recession?
Yeah, look, it's all about tenancy and multiple exit strategies, right? So in 2008, I could buy a three-decker in Lynn for 110 grand from the bank, and I didn't have any money, right? 2020, late 19, early 20, that same three-decker's going for 6.25. So what the hell does that tell you? Here's what that tells you. It tells you that people are dumb. It tells you that a lot of the fundamentals seem to get squashed
Mm-hmm.
as people start looking around them. So Lynn was always good for a number of different reasons. You could comp properties by zip code in Lynn because we had four different zip codes, I believe. And yet, if you didn't understand the city, you could definitely get better comps on the sell side, lower comps on the buy side.
Yeah.
There was some nice flexibility in there. Being a firefighter in that city, I knew pretty much every street. And also, I had the advantage of understanding, how the city worked,
Yeah.
for want of a better term. So, familiarity was nice there. I did a couple of nice projects in Lynn over the years, some threes, some singles, some bits and pieces. But then Lynn got too expensive and it got too stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to insult that city because I'm proud of the work that I did there, but it's had a lot of challenges. It has a lot of challenges. It's going to continue to have a lot of challenges. If you have the ability to landlord or be an investor there, and there's a couple of investors in that city who have large portions of the real estate and they've owned them for years, and they've got enough meat on the bone that they can absorb some of the tenancy challenges that are going on there. But for me today, I'm not focused on Lynn because it's maxed out.
Yeah.
I will be focused on Lynn 18 months from now
Yeah.
because there's some stuff that I believe is going to be happening. But for me, I focus where on my buy and hold side, I focus where my cap rates work, right? I want good cap rates where there's enough spread for me to be able to do the deal and absorb any challenges. And my single family home business, today I'm in Chicago, Florida. I'm up in Maine. And I've also done some stuff, obviously, locally.
Yeah.
I'm the most conservative son of a gun that there is, Ricky. I'm very blessed to say I haven't lost a dime in real estate since I got educated, because I will walk away from 100 deals before I do one. It's just the way that I am. Because the investors who have looked at properties in the past, we'll say 12 months, for examples, and they've said to themselves, I'm okay with a 7, 8, 9, 10% return.
Yeah.
I'm doing all of my analysis now, shrinking down my ARVs by 15%.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows what's coming next. So those are the challenges, but
Yeah.
there's still money to be made.
Yeah. So, I think we look at it the same way. I'm always looking at 20% ROI or higher on deals. I think, and I think sometimes agents will bring me a deal and they'll say, how are you passing on this? I'm like, it's showing an 8 or a 10% return. That's not something I'm getting into. We've got better opportunities. There will be people that will buy it, and now they're probably in trouble. They're going to be underwater on it.
Yeah.
I think one thing, that question for you. So I've always preached, and so I've invested a ton the past few years in Rhode Island. I bought a bunch of buildings in Federal Hill. I actually sold them all about 8 months ago.
Well done, son.
Yeah. So I exited out of that investment, all 6 buildings. Same thing you're saying about Lynn. I was buying buildings for 150 to 180 for 3 families, and then they were all now selling for mid 350s.
Yeah.
And that's in 2 years.
Yeah.
Unhealthy returns, right? 150, 200 grand per building.
Yeah.
And so I exited everything. I was like, this is unhealthy. But I also didn't make from a Rhode Island standpoint on the rentals, I didn't have the returns I expected because I wasn't feet on the ground. So how do you handle, you're saying you're investing in Chicago, Maine.
Yeah.
I tell everyone not to fuck around if it's not near your house.
Yeah.
I like to see, if I could see all my rentals from the front door of my house, I'd
Yeah.
prefer it. Or
Yeah.
if I can throw a rock and hit my next development, I prefer it. So tell me how you can run. How does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question too, brother. So look, I'm blessed in the fact of the TV show gave me national recognition, number one.
Yeah.
And then number two, I spent a lot of my investing career also as an educator.
Yeah.
Worked with some of the largest education companies in the country. So if I say I go to Chicago, well, I've been to Chicago and taught 300 to 3,000 people in a room.
Yeah.
Well, out of that 300, 3,000 people, there's a percentage of them that actually invest in themselves, do very, very well. Well, I'm blessed to stay in touch with those people.
Yeah.
So for me, I've got relationships in markets where I can invest that make sense. If you ask me to go to Sacramento, I can pick up the phone and call 3, 4 solid investors in that market who would have my back if I wanted to, use their resources, property management, money, whatever the case may be. So that's the advantage that I have. One of the big things that popped off of the TV show. So it's all about relationships. Look, dude, I am not interested in my phone ringing because Bobby got stuck in the shitter at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And I mean this respectfully to every tenant that's ever paid rent in a property that I've owned. I don't know their names.
Right.
I set up my business so that I'll either have a business partner and their responsibility is management. Like I will give up 50% value of a portfolio for a partner who's going to do all of that work. And I do the money, the buying, the analysis, put teams together. I did that up in Maine. It's funny, you're talking about Rhode Island. I just did exactly the same thing. I sold a 9-unit in Maine week before last.
Great timing.
My buyers were stuck in Mexico, Ricky. And I'm calling my partner. I'm like, is this still going down? Are they coming in? I bought that property for $275, and I sold it 4 years later for $585.
Perfect. Yeah.
Right? When you see that, and you look at the price history on a piece of it, that's the second highest it had ever been in its history. Were
you seeing, and this is what triggered me in Rhode Island, I was looking at my actual year end when I was looking at my cash flow, and it was not performing the way I had analyzed it when I started.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not even happy. And I paid $180 or $150 for these.
Yeah.
How are these people thinking they're going to pay $350? Right. I'm barely cash flowing. Right. So that triggered to me said, I'm exiting. This is unhealthy. So I assume same thing in that one.
Identical. Practically zero cash flow for that period of time.
Same.
So the whole thing was an equity play.
Yeah.
The whole process was an equity play because I don't know how where you were in Rhode Island or what the tenancy base was, but these were C+ neighborhoods. You know what I mean? They weren't the D's. They weren't the real rougher areas, but these were C+ neighborhoods. Maine's got its challenges with meth and some other drug issues, and we could talk for 3 days about some of the stories.
I think that's all the Boston people. I see a ton of Boston people on here. Be careful investing in other areas because we get spoiled in the Boston, the major cities around Boston because their vacancy is very, very low. The tenants stick around. If you get first-class security, there's a chance that they're not going to leave. Your vacancy can be zero. Like some of my rentals I've owned in the past 10 years, some of my first ones have had zero vacancy for 10 years. And they still will because they have, the tenants are young professionals or college kids with parents that are on the, that are co-signed. So, but when you get into Maine, you get into Providence, Rhode Island, they'll just walk like that.
Sure.
And then you're like, you say to your management company, you're like, hey, why am I not getting rent in that building? They're like, oh, all the tenants moved out. And you're like, don't we have leases? And they're like, yeah, they just left though.
They don't care. They don't care. Nobody's paying on a lease. That's the hardest part, which is why the economies of scale is always a nice play. But, not everybody, especially when they're starting out, can stroke a check for, a couple of $1 million to bring in maybe 20 units, whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
So economies of scale will help you overcome that. But it's really critical. It's all about the property management team. Are they rowing with you in the same boat? What is your system for underwriting property managers? Remember, think about it, man. You're giving them an asset that's worth maybe $250,000 all the way up to tens of millions of dollars, you know, and they make and break the process. So again, for me, lucky that I've got national relationships, but then at the same time, I've never been, you know, I live by that old adage, right? Pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered, that kind of thing. If I can give meat off of this bone and I'm buying, I don't want to use the word loyalty, but I'm buying like good reciprocity, good value in a partnership on a buy and hold so that I don't have to deal with the headaches that are involved, then I'm comfortable with that. I just got a text from a realtor friend of mine in Tampa who's taken over some stuff that I thought I could sell that I can't sell now because of COVID. So now, you know, there's a pivot. Now we're going to a buy and hold strategy, do some lease options, get these people in there so they're ready to pull the trigger 18 months or 2 years down the line. I'll actually make more money not selling it now than if I do a lease option with these folks. So, you know, it's trying to stay in motion in the middle of all this chaos is really what it's about for me.
So it kind of plays into this whole thing. I did an interview the other day and we asked this exact question. I'm going to ask you the same thing. So forget the TV show, forget your career, but you've got the knowledge you have right now. So you don't have the fame, you don't have the TV show stuff. I pick you up and I drop you into a new market. Into a new city. Right? Just Dave Seymour, no TV show. How do you build your real estate business? So if it's a newbie trying to get started, what do you do on day one? And how does day 1 to month 12 go?
You know, it's fundamentals. So first of all, this business, you need capital. We know it's not our capital. So I'm a newer investor dropped into a marketplace. I want to find out where the money is. I want to find out who the private lenders are. My business is funded today with private lenders. I got to know what I'm doing. So let's back that up a little bit. First of all, if you
have your knowledge,
I've got my knowledge. Okay.
You've got your knowledge.
That, good. As long as you don't take that away, I'm golden.
No.
All right.
You got your knowledge and your good looks.
I don't feel that good looking right now. How's that look? Is that better? So I'd start building relationships on the money side, the realtor side, the property management side. And then I would do everything in my power to start rubbing elbows with the players in that market. Unfortunately, there's a lot of talking in our industry. There's a lot of people who talk about doing business. But unfortunately, I don't know about you, Ricky, I would say, you know, it's maybe 10% of the people who say they're doing something are actually doing something, you know? The rest of them just talk shit. And it takes a little bit of time to weed through that. So I would identify who the true players are and then find out how I can build alliances and bring reciprocity. And I talk about this a lot from a teaching standpoint as well. You know, it's not always money. Money's everywhere, brother. You know, people always think, well, I can't do this because I don't have the money. Well, money isn't the most valuable commodity, and it won't be, well, I say it won't, it probably will be, see. Right? Yeah, that's changing. You know, it's not the most valuable commodity there is. It's always time, right? And it ties into what we just said. So can I give some time in return for a relationship? If I'm a younger individual and my skill set's so strong with the internet, social media like yourself, that I could leverage that for an investor in a marketplace to be able to build some reciprocity. Get help, get guidance, find out who's doing what, and then parallel with them. And set out a defined goal for what it is you want to achieve. Otherwise, you know, human beings that aren't goal-driven tend to be, you know, for entrepreneurs, it's the next shiny thing, right? If I'm not focused, I'm just chasing shit around all the time. Focus on 20%, that 80-20 rule. 20% of what we do brings in, you know, 80% of our income. So really try and focus more on that 20 and less on the 80% of just noise, because we're really good at being busy. And then get some definitive steps in place. So find out where the money is and align myself with it. Hard money lenders. If I've got good credit and I'm employed, you know, I can start looking at some of the smaller banks and institutions, because they will be lending through this next turn. Private lenders, hard money lenders, institutions that are up and running, and then start looking for those other investors that are actually doing business. Really drill down in my marketplace by zip code. Find out what the after repair values are on your bread and butter houses, 1,500, 1,800 square feet, 3-bed, 2-bath, you know, paint, carpet, get them pretty, get them sold, get them in, get them out. and align myself with a good mortgage originator in the residential marketplace, because those mortgage originators, they're the ones that get us paid.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, man. I can't tell you how many times it's gone under contract in the past, and then they can't get their financing because their financing wasn't any good in the first place. That just fucking drives me nuts when that happens.
Yeah, so anyone who's listening, this is something that I've talked about I preach to everyone that, everyone who talks to me about it is using a preferred lender, right? So if someone's buying something from you, you can always require that they get a pre-approval from your lender, right? You can't force them to, but you can highly consider their offer based on it. And so what we do is we have preferred lenders on all of our developments. And if they don't want to use it, their offer is probably not going to be accepted. And what that protects me from is my preferred lender over all the years has never not closed a deal for me. If he says it's a deal, it's going to close. And that's from the buyer. So it's a condo buyer who's going to buy one of my units. And also he saved me. I've had people go with Citibank or Bank of America, even though I told them not to. And then he'll still close within 20 days of that loan falling apart. So they have to put in the P&S. If they can't get their loan, they must switch to my preferred lender.
Really? Nice.
Yeah. So good ways to protect yourself, that if you are you can use your own lender if I allow you to, but if you get denied, you switch to my preferred lender. It's not an immediate out.
You know what it is too? The community, just like every other community, residential lending, it's a small community. And they all know who the players are and who the bullshit artists are. So if I call my guy Johnny and I say, hey, Johnny, this guy's sent an approval letter for my buyer, he can say to me, yeah, that guy's solid, but I'll double check it for you. You know what I mean? Like they can at least have a quick phone call without breaking all of the rules of, I don't know, they got rules around that stuff. I don't know what it is. But that's what I would do in any market. I'd get my marketing up and running, and I'd start making offers. Making offers. If you're not making offers, 15 to 100 a month, what chance do you stand? You got to get in the game.
I think one thing too, you mentioned this before. It's like I always say this. People are like, oh, I don't have any money. I'm like, the main thing I need in my business is the deal. Like if someone brings me a deal that's going to make me $200, $300, $1 million, I am happy to take care of you and loop you in on the deal.
Sure.
More than happy to.
Sure.
And so I think that's, something when these people you're trying to wholesale or you're trying to look for a deal, it's like, if you're able to, and the other thing too, I recommend understanding how to analyze a deal. So this is for anyone following along. Don't just call an investor and throw an address at me. That pisses me off because don't just say, oh, what do you think about 7 Marion Place? Like, no, why should I think about it? Tell me why. And the cleaner that email can be, with more details of why you think I should buy this, the more likely of you making a wholesale money or making a partnership with me. And so that's vital.
I don't know about you, brother. Here's the one that drives me absolutely batshit is when I get that from realtors. Realtors.
Yeah.
And they'll email or they'll call, and then I say to them, okay, that's great. So there's a property in MLS. Who gives a shit? So, well, it's a deal. Why?
Why?
Well,
tell me why.
They don't know why. They haven't got it. So analysis for me, man, one of my mentors gave it to me earlier on. He said, keep it simple. It's kind of like 5th grade math.
Yeah.
After repair value, what is it, honestly, based on real numbers, 30 days sold, 60, 90 days sold. I don't give a fuck about under agreement. I don't care about what's on the market. I want sold properties. Beds, baths, square foot. Look at some pictures. Get that comparison and a feel for what it is. And then blend those numbers. Look, I got a gut reaction today that's pretty strong, right? But that took me time to do that. So, analyze those numbers, get the best average you can. Then you take off of there your construction costs. Make sure that you put in, 7, 10, depending on the size of the project or the type of project, 15% variable on your construction numbers. So that when you open up the wall and go, oh, shit, what's that? Oh, vermiculite. Oh, yeah, that's asbestos. Oh, yeah, we got a line item for that. Yeah. And then your carrying costs, cost to buy, cost to sell, and then put the deal together. And if after all of that, the number makes sense, then it makes sense. But I'm trying to avoid anything skinny. I'm not doing anything skinny now at all. Yeah. But even back, prior to the COVID crisis, I was, I wouldn't do skinny deals because I don't want to get caught with my pants down. There's no reason to. You know what I mean? So good analysis is critical. It's absolutely crucial.
Yeah, I think that's one thing too. If you're a real estate agent out there, learn how to analyze a deal and send me it in the proper way, and make sure you've got all my expenses in there.
Yeah.
Half the time I get these deals and they literally show me like it says like a 7% return on it. They haven't even taken into account a closing cost of the buyer's agent, seller's agent, and closing costs. That's 5 to 6%.
I know.
That means the deal's a zero.
You know what I say to him, Ricky? I say, I'm going to do this deal. And they go, great. I go, yeah, but you're not going to make a dime. Well,
you're not making anything on the front or the back.
Put it in your analysis.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Come on. You're
right.
Let's go. Get it right. I know. It's a waste of time. And you know what happens? Here's the thing. The curse in this business is when a guy like me looks at my phone and I see the name or the number and I send them to voicemail.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to go to somebody's voicemail. If I'm doing that, I'm doing something wrong, right? That's the curse of the business. Whether it's my contractors calling me calling them, another investor, if I call you, you're going to answer and vice versa. That's critical in this business as well. Everybody needs to understand that. You know what I'm saying? Being a value. You got to bring value. Don't waste time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
No, I think for sure. And then and don't be scared to call me or to call the investor, but just learn quickly of how to present it in a way. And like when I tell you, hey man, don't just forward it to me, figure it out and then come to me. The next one, I'm going to let you do that again and I'm going to give you another shot. But don't let the third one come in a sloppy format. Then I'm not ever answering your call again.
Nah, on the money. I'm with you, brother.
We got some questions come in. So let's talk to someone asked about your first project, once you got out of the education and you jumped into that first flip.
Yeah.
How did that go? What was it? And not the wholesale, the actual construction flip.
Yeah. I did a property. I lived on one of the ponds in Lynn, and the kid behind me, I knew this kid, and he had some challenges and stuff. Anyway, long story short, it was he went into a short sale scenario. I turned this one over to Peter. He was working some short sales. He had some systems in place. We short sold that property, and that was one of the first deals that Pete and I kind of like did together. Mm-hmm. And it was a flip. I wore a tool belt, man. I'm blessed that I wore a tool belt not because it saved money. I was a donkey for a carpenter, man. Give me a chop saw and a tube of caulking and I can make it look halfway decent, But I was a bull and I could do that work. But I really got familiar with the process of the trades. I got familiar with timelines. We went into that project. We were in it for maybe 12 weeks. I'm still working in a firehouse. I'm still working part-time my other jobs. I'm working on my days off construction. I'm in this project. I'm vested in it. I can't remember the profit on it. I think I made maybe 20 grand, something like that. Peter made 40, something like that on that particular deal. But if you think about living paycheck to paycheck and some of the folks and the challenges they got right now, to get a $20,000 lump sum was an absolute game changer for me. Yeah. I learned that the city inspectors need to be finessed. I learned the ego of a job site, the pitfalls of a job site. It wasn't later in my career that I began to learn some of the other nuances around, like we just discussed, good mortgage preferred lenders. And, I said there's a couple of guys that I'm working with locally now. They just did a deal in Melrose. They used my GC. They used my formulas, did a real nice job, got it under agreement. And as soon as they got it under agreement, I said to them, now the difficult part starts. I said, now you're really going to need the support and the coaching and the mentorship. And they're already doing this with inspections and homeowner inspections and stuff. But my first deal was education based. It really was. I spent 27 grand on my education, made 20 on that particular deal. So, I'm moving in the right direction pretty fast. Yeah. But that was my first real flip, was that property. And it was a neighbor. I say that all the time. If you're new, tell everybody what it is that you're doing. Tell everybody, because you don't know where your first deal is going to come from. You really don't. It could be a friend's passed away relative, whatever the case may be, Rick. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So the next one that was sent in was, talk to us about the biggest mistake you've made on a flip where you've gotten into something, whether it was a mistake in your analysis, a mistake on the purchase, and then a bad buy or anything that you like, you maybe you couldn't even have predicted, but what happened and how did that work out?
Yeah, it was actually an episode of the show. It was Stink to High Heaven. I don't know if you
Okay.
saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, you were asking me earlier, what was real and what wasn't. That was a real scenario. I got jacked up with a septic system.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, look, in a city like we are, right, Boston, we don't deal with septic systems, and this thing had a septic system, and the line item for the average septic around here is 25 grand, and that one ended up being, I think it was like $50,000.
Yeah.
The leach field for it,
Mm-hmm.
became bigger and bigger and bigger. It was large machines digging it up, and what they call PERT tests, where the water. It's a shit show.
Yeah.
Yeah, no pun intended. But
Yeah,
look, the unknown is the unknown. But you do as much due diligence as you can on any deal to keep yourself as safe as you can be going forward. The other one I can think of was one I did with a buddy of mine, and I kind of did that one more from my heart than my head. He was in a hurting scenario. He was cash poor, equity rich, and he had some challenges. So we purchased his house at a number to put some money in his pocket. And if it wasn't him, I probably wouldn't have done the deal. We have an opportunity. This as investors, we can go out and solve some pretty major problems for people. So it's hard because if you're a decent guy or girl, you want to help people, but there's a fine line between helping them and hurting you. You know what I mean? So that was probably the only other one that was kind of skinny for me. But touch wood and whistle, as my grandmother used to say back in England. I haven't got into too many situations where I'm like, oh shit, run, Forrest, run. I haven't had to do that yet.
What next one was when you're going in to look at a flip or a project, what are things that you're looking at from a both positive and negative? So things you're going to bail from, and things you walk in and you're immediately like, oh, that's a value, that's something good that I'm seeing.
Yeah, that's a great question too. Look, from sticks and bricks standpoint, there's nothing I run away from. Nothing. If I got to rip the whole house down, so I rip a house down. So people always say, oh, there was the foundation issue, the mold issue. Mold is gold. I love mold. I like the green, the black, the red. I like it on bread for breakfast. Mold is beautiful because everybody else runs away from it.
Yeah.
And with education, we know how to, mitigate it. Lead paint. I mean, it's got lead paint. It's got a foundation that's cracked. It's got asbestos. It's got this. It's got that. Who gives a shit? It's all a line item, right?
Yeah.
So as long as the numbers make sense, I can make the buy side. So there really isn't a negative in that sense. Negative in the sense of, it's too small. Less than 900, that doesn't count for you. You're doing condos for $1 million for 900 square feet. But, like your average bread and butter house, I want to be within those parameters. I don't want to, I don't want monster houses over, 3,000 square feet. I'm not looking for tiny houses. So I want to be right in the middle where the majority of my buyers are. I love my strategy that's killed it for me recently is obviously open it up. Right? Get a wall or two out. If they can have that open feel, the family loves that. Obviously, we hit the kitchens and the baths. But if I've got enough headroom in our basements in New England, immediately pop in a second bathroom, full bathroom and shower in another bedroom, as long as I got the egress. And, in Boston, egress, we can actually chop into the side of a foundation, make an egress window, and then I got the egress. So those are the things I love to do to increase square footage, increase beds and baths, which obviously increase the value. So I get a better pop on the back end. So those things I look for. I love those. Love them.
We just got a question in from Rye Guy 115. What's your plans for the next 6 to 18 months? There's a recession coming. How do you plan on taking advantage of it?
Rye Guy 115. I wonder if that's is he in California? Is it that
I don't know.
Look, man, so this really the biggest meat of this conversation is that question. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything else is just kind of like polite conversation. So let's get a reality check.
Let's do it. Yeah.
We're dealing with something that nobody has ever seen before. And God willing, brother, we never see again. Okay. So here's what I see. I see a lot of people with a lot of opinions, you know, saying, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. I had a conversation with a friend of mine recently. He's part of a closed investment group. He and his partners have been through 2008, been through 2001, been through all of the, all of the big ups and downs that we've seen in the real estate marketplace. And I'm just going to relate to him. I'm going to relate to you what he said to me on his phone call. His name's Rosario. And he said to me, what we are right now is in the gap. Right now, it's about bringing it together, whatever that is, whatever's out there, hanging out there. And you and I had this discussion before, right? Controlling what I can control right now, knowing that there is a lot of shit I can't control. So for me, I'll give you an example. I haven't made any offers in the past 3 or 4 weeks. Why? Because I got no fucking idea what the after repair value is.
Right.
If I don't know what the after repair value is, how can I make offers? Because that's my number one number on my analysis sheet. Well, why can't I make after repair value numbers accurately? Because I've got no idea what consumer confidence, unemployment, and COVID-19 is going to do not only financially to our economy, but also to our psyche, right? Our buyers are people who are happy enough to make a $350,000 to $2 million commitment with a lending institution for 30 years. Now, as investors, we make those large financial decisions every day. Our buyers make them, maybe 4 or 5 times in their life, right? So for them to be able to make those decisions, consumer confidence, confidence in their employment, confidence in tomorrow, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, needs to be strong. And I got no idea, by the way. I'm just sharing my thoughts.
Yeah.
So my buddy says to me, there's 3 strategies or 3 outcomes or possibilities. And they're all dependent upon the banks, consumer confidence, common sense, and whether they can kick this virus in the ass or not faster rather than slower. He said one was, hey, COVID comes in, it's a little bit of a blip, boom, we're all back to work, no worries. Well, we already know that isn't happening. That's done. The next one is everybody just holds on for a while, which is what I think we're going to end up doing, whether we like it or not. And now we're in this gap period. I said to you earlier on, I'm in lending. Well, I was in lending. My lending business shut down about 2 weeks ago. And now we're trying to regroup and find boxes to put capital in to be able to do what we do on the lending front, because the secondary and tertiary lending markets shut down.
Right.
There's no money moving. I was talking to a residential broker recently. It's funny. One guy said to me, all of my products have stopped other than Freddie and Fannie. And then another broker said to me yesterday, no, I still got everything going, including jumbo loans. So I don't know. Who do you listen to? It is what it is. So uncertainty breeds a couple of different things. It breeds opportunity, but it's also based out of fear. So if we look at the fear of the marketplace and the fear of everybody, what does fear do? Fear freezes, right? Fear retards, right? It stops action. It stops movement. And because fear is doing that, it's going to be a thief. So long-winded, what I'm saying is this. With fear in the marketplace, it creates an opportunity, but nobody knows what the opportunity is right now. A lot of people, including myself, are doing this. Maybe you, brother, like you got some ideas. We're all intelligent investors, but we don't know. So here's what I'm doing to answer the guy's question. I'm holding on. I'm hoping that tenants are going to be able to pay. I actually am going bullish on raising money. So I'm in the process of working with a company out of Pennsylvania that has about 950 million under assets, right, under control, and working with them to build a fund. Because if we look at what happened to the stock market over the past 6 weeks, there's a lot of people don't have retirement anymore. So the renters don't have jobs and the retirees don't have a retirement. Well, I can't get everybody a job. I can give some rent relief under the programs that are available. But on the retiree side, I know how to get 8, 10, 12, 15% return IRR on capital through real estate investments.
Mm-hmm.
So get strong on capital, raise money, getting a fund together, SEC compliant, Securities and Exchange Commission, build that fund, raise capital. Because I personally believe 8 months to 12 months from now, I believe that's when the true opportunities are going to begin to show themselves. I did a little research today, and when I say those opportunities, I'm talking about the commercial marketplace, because the commercial arena, I believe, is going to take a real swift kick in the ass.
Big time.
I know a lot of what I call institutional type investors who hold, tens of thousands of dollars mixed use properties. They've been incredibly bullish on the buy side the past 3 years. I wonder how they're going to do, because they were buying at shrunken cap rates. Yeah. Even 7% is a shrunken cap rate, I believe, compared to what's coming down the market. So get cash strong, hold on for now, let the dust settle, let the scientists figure this fucking thing out and how to eradicate it, or at least diminish it enough that people feel confident enough to get up and go. Because I'll ask everybody on this call a question, honestly. How do you feel about going out to your favorite restaurant 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now?
I don't think that people are. Not right away. Not going to a Pats game, not going to a Bruins game.
You got it, brother. Think about standing in line to take a leak at Fenway Park. Think about it. I'm not signing up for that program for a while. You know what I mean?
I think you and I talked earlier, and it's like, it comes back to control what you can, right? This is when you stay liquid, bunker in, control what you can, get prepared to come out of this thing full steam ahead. And that time's going to be when we know when the unknown goes away, right? And we might not be for a while, but at least we're going to have an idea. The curves are coming down.
Right.
Restaurants, stuff's going to start opening again. At that time is when I want my team, and I want everyone to be ready to really capitalize. So
right.
Control what you can right now. That's build your lists, right?
Yeah.
I've got my team sourcing stuff, making phone calls, build the list of future opportunities, right? And going through the public record, going through Zoning Viewer, finding opportunities of people that, you're like, wow, this could be a great opportunity. Maybe we start those first phone calls now. People are sitting at home.
Yeah.
And then be ready for July, August, September. That's when we can really capitalize on those things.
I was doing a little research this morning. The bank relief program, right? I don't know the exact title of it.
Yeah.
But there's like 6 months of forbearance on some of these residential mortgages. But when you read a little deeper into the paperwork, that 6 months of forbearance.
Oops, looks like we lost connection there. Let's see if we get Dave to jump back on here. Lost connection on that one. Let's see if he can join back in. We'll finish this up. Let's see. So, that was going awesome. I think somehow we lost connection, but hopefully he can join back in so we can just at least finish up his thought and, kind of finish up this interview. That's a bummer. That was going great. What do you guys think? You guys have any feedback of how the interview went? We lost at the 6 month of forbearance. Hopefully he jumps back in here and we can get that final point from him. Thank you everybody for joining in. I thought that went really well. Really excited for another interviews we got coming up. And then definitely Dave and I were talking this morning, definitely going to get together, do some more content, maybe a couple videos, maybe we get the guy in the goggle gang. So you'll see a lot more of Dave and I working together on some stuff coming up once this virus passes. Let's see. Still don't have him back. Would love to get him in and. Let's see. Still isn't back. All right, we'll give him another couple minutes here, see if he jumps back on. Maybe his phone died or something. But yeah, I think I see Benny Beantown joined in. What's good, Benny? Joe, how you hanging, buddy? You bored? You sitting at home? All right, I'm not sure he's gonna come back. Hair is getting long. The fire station. Got another fireman. There we go. I don't know. He looks like he keeps. Let's see. Hopefully we get him back on. I'd love to, finish this up. See if he can join back in. Dave, what's up, buddy? Benny, how am I feeling about my rental portfolio and rents? I ran the numbers last night. I think we're just over 60% now. I haven't checked in today. I got some checks here on my desk. So, I think we'll be creeping up into the, some higher numbers. I know I actually had some payments that are going to come in from Section 8 on the 9th. The city's going to release them on the 9th, and then on the 15th that for some reason got delayed. So that would be a good chunk right there. Let me see. Here, let me drop for a sec. I'll be right. I want to see if I can give him a ring. There we go. Looks like we got him back. There he is, the big guy.
Thank you. I don't know if that was me or you. It was probably me. I'm not too good at this stuff.
I think you got excited and you smacked your phone.
That's what it was. I banged it around the room a little bit. That's for sure. I don't know where the hell I was. Yeah. So hold on, right?
Forbearance. You were middle of the forbearance, the 6 months.
Oh yeah. So actually, I just was reading that on the forbearance side. They, they've got, what is it, like 6 months forbearance is the program. And then after 6 months, if your rent or your mortgage, if your mortgage is $1,500, well, 6 months later, you got $9,000 plus your $1,500. The bank's looking for $10,500.
So it's only delayed. It's not
delayed. And then this thing that I read this morning, the person with a mortgage says, "Well, can you help me?" And the bank says, "Well, sure, we'll break it up over the next 12 months." So now their mortgage payment is $2,500 instead of $1,500.
Right.
And as we know, a lot of folks are living, paycheck to paycheck. So that's going to create some kind of foreclosure scenario again, I think. But again, I don't know for sure. So, all of these challenges are out there, but the commercial market is definitely going to be a place to focus on. I hope this doesn't offend, and I don't mean it to be morbid, but, probate is going to be a marketplace where we can help people. There's a lot of people who are going to pass. A lot of people are not going to get through this chaos. It is the older folks, maybe leaving homes, and it's a shit show, man. But maybe that's an area where we can be of service and help some people as well.
Yeah.
So hold on, raise money, be ready, build teams, keep up the communication. You know, find a deliverable every single day, do something valuable, whatever that may be, big or small, and stay in motion. Otherwise, you know, when everything smells like crap, it's time to check your own diaper. So I try and always be moving forward. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
That's how I look at it.
Well, I want to say thank you for joining today. This has been awesome, incredibly informative. I was saying when you were offline that we will definitely set up once this virus is passed, you and I are gonna meet up. Maybe we'll put some video content together for the people, get you some goggles on, part of our goggle gang, and we'll make some good content, talk some more shop. But thank you for joining us today. And if anyone didn't have your question to answer, definitely send him over a DM. I've tagged him in our last post on our Instagram account. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, God bless, brother. Be well. Stay safe. All right.
Thanks, bud. Bye.
See you, man. Bye.